The year is 2005. Long gone is the Y2K craze of the new millennium, and Britney Spears is pregnant and in a highly criticized relationship with dancer Kevin Federline, which would ultimately lead to a public spiral. Just a few years before that, the queen of pop herself, Madonna, had seemingly passed her torch to Britney in a scandalous 2003 VMA performance, where she not only passed her torch, but also her tongue down Britney and Christina Aguilera's throats while singing along to Like a Virgin. That performance was supposed to be a promotional effort for her ninth album, American Life, yet her inclusion of Hollywood at the VMAs, a single from American Life, went unnoticed, like much of the album, and the bits and pieces that did get noticed got noticed for the wrong reasons and was met with heavy criticism for her take on politics. The album put a large dent in her career, in which up until that point, she had experienced no true commercial failures, but once again, the Like a Virgin singer proved there's a first time for everything, and it became her lowest selling album up until that point. By then, many people had written Madonna off claiming she had ran out of ideas and couldn't keep up with the new generation anymore. But there would be a glimmer of hope, and that glimmer would come from disco balls and party lights, something that reached straight from the 70s. Right before Madonna would take over the music industry in the 80s. The way she followed up American Life and challenged many people's thoughts on ageism, sexism, and being told that you should stop doing something because of how old you are is one of the boldest comebacks in pop music history, maybe of all time. Confessions on the Dance Floor, The Re-Up, Tape 1. Disco music. Disco music is a very important topic within this era of Madonna's life, but disco music is also very important to the perception of this album. Disco saw its fair share of love and hate. It was at one point the biggest genre of music in the world, and suddenly it was the most hated in the world, and it became uncool to like it, and it formed into a taboo of sorts if you released disco music after a period of time when it wasn't popular. Your material was considered dated and quite frankly stupid, since that was the general consensus. Throughout the past decades, disco has gradually earned all of its respect back and is looked back on as one of the greatest times in music history that showcased many talents from ABBA to Donna Summer to Casey and the Sunshine Band. But unlike most genres which showcase a variety of emotions and have no true boundaries when it comes to self-expression, disco music is highly associated with dancing, wacky clothes, optimism, happiness, and just having a good time. Sure, there may have been some heartbreak anthems, but best believe you would be able to dance to them. It's a very bright, catchy, and danceable genre of music, which is a total contrast from American Life, where the production was very in your face, brash, and moody. Madonna describes the American Life era to be very angry at the world and what was going on around her. So after such an angry album, I suppose she took her art to one of the brightest time periods sonically in music history, and made what is largely considered to be her best work at the age of 47 years old. Madonna is the undisputed queen of reinvention, and so she did it again, and she did it quite well as she always does. But the reinvention wasn't foreign to her. In fact, it was essentially a return to her roots. Madonna was a dancer before she was a singer, and dancing was her initial goal, so that helped the personable effect this album gave off. It felt very natural and not forced at all. It was a perfect era, and would be one of the last times Madonna would truly have the pop world in her control, like she had done for most of her career. The album was primarily produced by Stuart Price, and was crafted to mimic a DJ set and flow into each other like a bunch of dance floor tracks, and to say the least, it worked. The music is amazing. She kicked off the album with Hung Up, which features a killer ABBA sample. It's seriously one of the most infectious songs I've heard in my life, and probably one of the best dance pop songs of all time, and topped the charts in countless countries. It's regarded as one of the best singles of her career, and it's easy to see why. It exudes confidence and has flawless production. It's the perfect example of not being lazy with a sample. The second single follows up perfectly. Sorry, in which she says, "I've heard it all before. Please don't say you're sorry." There's absolutely no apologies needed for this great song. As the entire album goes on, it gets more and more personal and a bit dark, primarily focusing on relationship troubles, but still keeping its danceability. She even slows the album down with songs such as Forbidden Love, which is one of my personal favorites off the album. And she ends it off with Like It or Not, which she basically tells anyone who doesn't like her to f off in true Madonna fashion. Present day, the album is still considered one of the best dance albums of all time. It peaked at number 1 in over 40 countries, sold over 10 million copies, won numerous accolades, and started the rise of disco being seen as more acceptable and being used in mainstream music again. She broke too many records to count with this album, and she did it in such a great fashion. This album is important for many reasons, not only because of the great music and records she sold, but it was a true testament to Madonna's legacy and reinvention. One of the bravest things about Madonna is how unapologetic she is. She's overcome a lot of obstacles and has broken down doors for many women and men in the industry. And despite being labeled terrible things by the media, letting her age or gender pigeonhole her, she still kept going, and out of all her albums from this century, Confessions on the Dance Floor represents Madonna at her boldest, simplest, and most fearless. It showed no matter if she was backed into a corner, she will come back swinging, which in many ways is a testament to her entire career, and why she's given the title of being the Queen of Pop.